All right, today we're going to derive the quadratic formula, which is a formula you normally use to solve a quadratic equation. And a quadratic equation is degree 2. And so to develop it, what we do is we use a completing of the square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus mainly on the first two terms. And I am going to factorize the a from the first two terms, not the third term. And so plus b over ax. Okay, and I know that if I expanded the a through, I would get the original two terms back. Then what I do is I take my middle number, which is b over a, and I do two things to it. I take half of it, so I take half of it, and then I square it. Do you see? And that's going to allow me to create a perfect square. So then I take that number, which is going to be, and I'm going to add it, plus b squared, over, well, 2a squared is 2a times 2a, or 4a squared. But I have to subtract it too. So I'm also going to subtract it, b squared over 4a squared. Don't forget about the c. The c is sitting there as well. Okay? And I have to close my bracket right there. Nice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to recognize that all I really wanted was this term. I didn't want that other term. It's just extra. It's residual. I have to take it to keep everything in perfect harmony and balance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this term. And so that's going to become, well, a bracket. I'm going to write my trinomial. There's my perfect square trinomial. Plus, it looks ugly, but trust me, it will boil down. Now, if I'm going to remove that from the bracket, it has to be multiplied by this coefficient a. Do you see? They have to be multiplied. And when I do that, the a is going to cancel with the a squared. And that's going to leave minus b squared over 4a plus c equals 0. So this term joins the c. The c is just sitting there doing nothing. Now, this becomes a perfect square trinomial, which can be factorized into a perfect square. So that's going to be a bracket. I take the square root of the first term, which is x. I either take the square root of this or the half of the middle. Okay? Half of the middle is easy to do, plus b over 2a. If I want half of b over a, I just divide by 2 or put a 2 in the denominator. That becomes a square. If I expanded this, I would get that back. You should try and see if that works. I can also take these two terms over to the other side. I'm already thinking about isolating x. So that's going to be equal to b squared over 4a minus c. Okay, it's almost even starting to look like that. Now what I also want to do is I want to add these together. So I want a common denominator of 4a, so I have to multiply that by 4a as well. All right. And then that a is going to have to be brought over, divided on the other side as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just isolate the square. Okay, there's the square. The a is going to come over but become the denominator on the other side. So on the other side, I've got equals, well, I've got b squared minus 4ac. Man, that's already sounding like the quadratic formula. All over, well, do you see that's 4a, and then the a is going to come over and join with the 4a, becoming a 4a squared. Do you see? And now I'm going to undo the squaring by square rooting. Now when I square root, I have to make sure that I take both the positive and the negative case. Because we know that when you take the square root when variables are involved, both negative and positive cases work. So that unleashes the x plus b over 2a equals, well, there's, now look here, that square root can act on the numerator and the denominator. So in the numerator, it becomes positive, negative, square root, b squared minus 4ac. That's comforting to hear because that's a part of the formula. All over the square root of 4a squared, which is going to be 2a. Well, it's looking good now. Now take this over to the other side. And this is the punchline here. So x becomes, well, negative b. Now look, the denominators are the same. Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Ta-da! And there's your quadratic formula. I recommend that you memorize it. If you're going to do any math in university, x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You just simply take the numbers a, b, and c, you plug them into the formula, bada bing, bada bang, you're going to get two answers by virtue of the plus or minus, and you're happy. Anyway, if you like this video, put a like on it, and don't forget to subscribe for lots more videos to come if you enjoy watching math videos, and I'll see you right back here in the next video.